She was waiting for a phone call. Not about a crisis, not about an emergency. She was waiting to find out whether her visa had come through. She had a travel consultant, a man in Jorbag, who was holding her paperwork. She had a destination. She had a plan. She had spent years building a way out. In a few days, she would be on a flight to Australia, leaving behind a man who had beaten her, watched her every move, and made every exit feel like a wall. She made one last call that evening, and the man she was trying to escape picked up the phone first. Her name was Naina Sahni. And before we tell you what happened to her, we need to tell you who she was. Her name was Naina Sahni. She was 29 years old. She grew up in a lower middle-class Sikh family in Delhi. Her father worked as a storekeeper in an ordnance factory. Her mother was named Jaswant Kaur. They were ordinary people, the kind whose names only appear in court documents when something goes wrong. But Naina was not ordinary in her ambitions. She studied at Shyama Prasad Mukherjee College, Delhi University. She joined the National Students' Union of India and rose through its ranks. She became All India Girls Convener of NSUI and then General Secretary of Delhi Youth Congress's Girls' Wing, one of the most prominent positions in student political circles in the capital. She also obtained a pilot's license. She traveled to London for commercial pilot license training. She ran a boutique. People who knew her described her as outspoken, career-oriented, strikingly confident. She wasn't the type who would get dominated. A neighbor told investigators she had a first love, a college classmate named Matloob Karim, whom she'd known since 1985. Their families' different religions made marriage impossible, but they stayed close. He remained, in the words of one account, her confidant, and in the summer of 1995, he was the person she trusted to collect the paperwork that was supposed to set her free. But to understand what happened on July 2nd, we first need to understand the man she was trying to leave and what he had become in her life. His name was Sushil Kumar Sharma. He was 36 years old. He had grown up lower middle class, studied commerce at Satyavati College, and climbed carefully and deliberately through the machinery of Delhi student politics. By 1995, he was president of the Delhi Youth Congress. He was known in party circles by a nickname, Cha Kumar, the knife slasher, the one who tore down rival posters. He also held a government-issued license for a restaurant called Bagya Barbecue at the Ashok Yatri Niwas Hotel on Ashoka Road. He had a flat at Mandir Marg. Naina began frequenting that flat in 1992. According to court records, they married in approximately April 1993. A quiet ceremony at Birla Mandir. Sharma insisted it remain secret. A public marriage, he believed, would interfere with his political career. His official government records listed his marital status as unmarried. Naina wanted acknowledgement. She never got it. What she did get, and what emerged in testimony from her domestic help and her neighbor, was a pattern of beatings, surveillance, and control. Her domestic help testified in court that Sharma beat her with legs, fists, and danda, and ordered the servant to follow her everywhere and report on her movements. A neighbor testified to witnessing Sharma physically drag her back inside the flat as she tried to leave. She fought back when she could, but by July 1995, she had stopped fighting in that flat. She was getting out. On the evening of July 2nd, her exit was hours away. And then, one phone call changed everything. It was the evening of July 2nd, 1995. Flat 8/2 ADIZ area, Sector 2, Mandir Marg, New Delhi. Sushil Sharma returned to find Naina on the phone. There was alcohol on the table. When she saw him, she panicked. She hung up immediately. Sharma redialed the number. Matlub Karim picked up on the other end. According to prosecutors, what happened next took a matter of seconds. The weapon, a licensed 32-bore Arminius revolver, serial number 1277725, registered in Sharma's name. 2 bullets struck Naina Sahni, 1 in the head, 1 in the neck. According to the second autopsy, conducted 10 days later, she died of a firearm injury to the head, a wound the court found, in its precise language, sufficient to cause death in the ordinary course of nature. She was 29 years old. After that, Sharma wrapped the body in black polythene sheeting. He considered dumping it in the Yamuna River, but the ITO bridge was busy at 9:30 at night. He loaded the body into the boot of his Maruti car. He drove to Bagya Barbecue, his own licensed restaurant at Ashok Yatri Niwas. A security guard logged the car entering the compound at approximately 10:15 p.m. He found his manager, Keshav Kumar. He told him what he had done. Kumar closed the restaurant. The remaining staff were sent home. Together, they placed Naina Sahni's body inside the tandoor. Ghee from the kitchen, then butter, then wood, paper, and old Congress party banners. The fire was lit. Sushil Sharma, president of Delhi Youth Congress, walked to the front of his restaurant and waited. Someone was asking about the smoke. 2 police officers were on patrol that night, and the woman selling vegetables outside Ashok Yatri Niwas had already started shouting. Head Constable Abdul Nazir Kunju was on patrol duty that night. Ashoka Road area, the 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. shift. At approximately 11:15 in the evening, near Ashok Yatri Niwas, he saw smoke. An elderly vegetable vendor, later recorded in court documents as Anaru Devi, was already crying out that a fire had broken out. A man appeared at the entrance of the restaurant. He told Kunju that they were burning old election posters. Nothing to worry about. It would be done soon. A PCR vehicle arrived a short time later. 2 officers who had come to the area for water. The same man spoke to them as well. According to their testimony, he said he was burning old banners and waste papers and flags of Congress party. He told them he was the leader of Youth Congress. The hotel security guard identified him by name. The name was Sushil Sharma. Kunju left to call the police station and the fire brigade. When he returned, 15 to 20 minutes later, the smoke was thicker. He and his patrol partner, Chanda Pal, scaled the back wall of the restaurant compound. Inside, a man was stoking a tandoor with a wooden pole. Keshav Kumar. The same story again. Old Congress banners. Nothing more. Then the smell. Kunju approached the tandoor. What he found, And what he described in the FIR that would become the foundation of the entire prosecution was, in the precise words of the Delhi High Court judgment, a human body inside the tandoor whose hands and feet were completely burnt and intestines were protruding out from the stomach. On a close look, they found that the dead body was of a female, and a black-colored tarpaulin was also found lying near the tandoor, on which blood was noticed at different places. They doused the fire with buckets of water. Keshav Kumar was arrested on the spot. Sushil Sharma had already gone. That FIR number 486/95 was the beginning, but identifying the body in that tandoor would require forensic techniques that India had barely begun to use. The first attempt to determine how she died would almost cost the prosecution everything. 3 forensic decisions shaped everything that followed. The first was a catastrophe. Dr. Murari Prasad Sarangi conducted the initial post-mortem at Lady Hardinge Medical College. The body was extensively charred. He found what appeared to be burn injuries. His provisional conclusion was that Naina Sahni had died from hemorrhagic shock caused by burns. The X-ray machine at the hospital was out of order. 2 bullets remained embedded in the skull and the neck, undetected. Had the prosecution proceeded on that post-mortem, there would have been no basis to link Sharma's revolver to the murder. The Lieutenant Governor of Delhi ordered a second autopsy. On July 12, 1995, 10 days after the murder, a board of 3 doctors examined the remains again. X-rays were taken. 1 metallic fragment in the skull, 1 in the neck, both extracted, both matched by the Central Forensic Science Laboratory to Sharma's licensed .32 caliber Arminius revolver. The revised cause of death: coma from firearm injury to the head. The burns were post-mortem. She had been shot first, then burned. The third breakthrough was identification. Naina's parents stood in the mortuary before their daughter's charred remains. According to court records, they simply wept but did not identify the body. There was nothing visible to identify. Samples were sent to the Center for Cellular and Molecular Biology in Hyderabad under the direction of Professor Lalji Singh, a scientist who would later be called the father of Indian DNA fingerprinting. The analysis was among the first of its kind in an Indian criminal prosecution. The DNA report confirmed that the remains in the tandoor were those of the biological offspring of Jaswant Kaur and Harbhajan Singh. It was Naina. Sharma was arrested in Bangalore on July 10th, 8 days after the murder. His head tonsured, his mustache shaved. His revolver was recovered from a briefcase in his advocate's hotel room. The trial took 7.5 years, 85 prosecution witnesses, a charge sheet filed in July 1995, charges framed in May 1996. On November 3, 2003, Additional Sessions Judge G.P. Thareja delivered his verdict. Sushil Kumar Sharma, guilty under Section 302 of the Indian Penal Code. The courts were not finished, and the next decision, the one that would generate more controversy than the murder itself, came 10 years later. The Delhi High Court upheld the death sentence in February 2007. Justices R.S. Sodhi and P.K. Bhasin described the act as so abhorrent and dastardly that sparing Sharma's life would be, in their words, a mockery of justice. In October 2013, the Supreme Court of India disagreed. A three-judge bench, Chief Justice P. Sathasivam, Justice Ranjana Prakash Desai, and Justice Ranjan Gogoi, who would later become Chief Justice of India, unanimously commuted the death sentence to life imprisonment. They upheld the conviction. But their reasoning for the commutation has been argued about ever since. The bench characterized the murder as the result of a strained personal relationship, a crime arising from possessiveness, not from any threat to society at large. They noted that Sharma had no criminal antecedents and that there existed the possibility of reform. That finding, no criminal antecedents, is where the legal criticism begins. The domestic help who had worked in that flat gave direct testimony of systematic beatings. The neighbor who lived nearby testified to witnessing physical confrontation. That testimony was accepted by the courts. And yet, because Sharma had no formal criminal convictions prior to the murder, the Supreme Court held that documented domestic abuse did not constitute criminal antecedents. On the question of Naina's vulnerability, the court went further. It found she was, in its words, an independent lady who was capable of taking her own decisions, and therefore not in a position of vulnerability relative to her abuser. Commentators have argued about this reasoning since 2013. On December 22, 2018, after 23 and a half years in Tihar, Sushil Sharma walked out. He went to a temple at Lodhi Road. He told journalists, "My life is a clean slate now. I have to write my ABCDs afresh." What this case left behind, in forensic science, in the law, and in a specific unanswered silence, is something India is still reckoning with. The Naina Sahni case operates on 4 levels, and none of them have resolved cleanly. In forensic science, a landmark, the second autopsy that found 2 bullets inside a charred skull, the pioneering DNA identification of remains that her own parents could not recognize. These cases are still taught in Indian law and forensic medicine courses. They changed the protocols that govern post-mortems in this country. In institutional practice, a constable named Abdul Nazir Kunju filed the FIR that cracked the case. He then reportedly faced 2 assassination attempts. He was denied promotion. He took voluntary retirement in 2012. Years later, he won a Supreme Court case against Delhi police for unpaid arrears. In the law, the Supreme Court's 2013 ruling established, in effect, that documented domestic violence does not constitute criminal antecedents unless it produced a prior conviction, and that an educated, professionally active woman is not, by definition, vulnerable to her abuser. In the human record, a 29-year-old woman had a travel consultant. She had a visa pending. She was hours from a flight. We know what Sushil Sharma said when he walked out of Tihar in December 2018. As of today, no record exists of what Naina's parents said. That silence, 30 years on, is its own kind of verdict. Stay vigilant. Stay curious. This is Crime Unmasked.